speak to Joe and her folks back there. Let's give him a round. And please help yourself as we continue on. If you want to go back and fill up or whatever you need back there, it's still sitting there, go back and grab it. So, any of this stuff's still back there. We're going to go ahead and get started with our speakers this evening, and we're going to begin. She really needs no introduction. We have got to know and love her here in Hawkins County and certainly the 1st Congressional District. The first person I'm going to ask to come up is going to be Representative Diana. She serves in the 118th Congress. She's on the House Committee, or Energy and Commerce, also on the Subcommittee on Communications and Technology, Subcommittee on Innovation, Data and Commerce, Subcommittee on Health. So without further ado, would you please welcome Ms. Diana?
But Pam said I could take as long as I wanted. So, but I won't bore you. Listen, it's my utmost honor to represent you in the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. I want you to know that. It's an honor of a lifetime to do that. Not very many people get to do that. So I take my responsibility, it's of utter importance to me to represent you well. And I'll tell you, there's just a lot of things going on. My advice is not to listen to the news, not to read the paper, because all you hear is negative things. Our speaker is going to be Mayor Jacobs, and he is all about the Constitution, limited government, upholding our unalienable rights, fighting for freedom. We could get a lot of things done in Congress if we just didn't have to defend what the Constitution already says. I got a lot of things I want to do, and a lot of things we are doing. But every day, something is uncovered that they've tried to cover up. And the latest is just, the definition of a whistleblower. And you saw what happened with the Durham report. I'm telling you, your freedoms are under attack. You understand? Shake your head if you do. If they can do it to somebody like the former president, they can absolutely do it to you. So it matters what you do at a local level. It matters what you do at a state level. And it certainly matters who you put in office at a federal level. Right? Because it all matters. We have to make decisions to protect our freedoms. And we're under attack every day. And my job is to defend you. I'm here to represent you. I'm here. I can do simple things at the federal level, like help you with Social Security, help you with disability. I can certainly help you with a passport. I can help you with Veterans Affairs. But right now I'm having to fight to make sure they don't change the Constitution and begin to take the freedoms away. We're in a war, and it is more important than ever that you take this election seriously that's coming up in 2024. Every year we say, this is the most important election of our lifetime. Well, how much do you value the freedom? Because this will be the most important election of your lifetime. There's a lot of things I could say that I'm doing, but it doesn't matter. If I'm not taking care of you at the level I'm supposed to, it doesn't matter, does it? We can't have a sovereign nation unless we have a border. They want to take their unalienable rights away to bear arms. There's a lot of things going on. Just make sure when you go to the ballot box that you choose somebody that's going to defend those rights for you. Because it matters at every level. We get so caught up in talking about little things that don't mean a hill of beans, even in our own party. When we should be coalescing together to get people out to go vote. So let them know that it's important that they vote. To uphold what we hold dear. I have grandsons, and I talk to all these young people. I try to put them in internships. I try to teach them the best way to govern. And I'm sure you do as parents the same way. I'm standing here to give you hope that we are fighting to keep everything above board. What you're seeing now is what we face every day when we go to work. And just remember, if they can do it to former president, they can do it to you. But I'm up there fighting for your freedom, so I'm trying to take care of things down here for you. Whatever you ask me, we're going to do our best to take care of it. But the message to you tonight is, make sure you get out to vote in 2024. You're up now, Republican Party, because they're going to throw everything they can at us to take this election away. And we have to be diligent, and we have to be watching, and we have to be working. And then I know you're going to say the same thing.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Well, they need to hear it again, okay? But just remember, it is an honor for me to serve you. And I don't take this responsibility lightly. So you got many more people to talk about what's going on at the state level, but we are holding down the fort on the House side with a slim majority. We're stopping the chaos that could ensue. And I'm telling you, with 3 people, you can come up to me later. I'll tell you everything we're doing. Right now, you have to hold people's feet to the fire, and you have to make them accountable. The only thing we can do is make people accountable in our government. That's all you're asking us to do, am I right? Somebody needs to be held accountable. So I'm here tonight. I know you've got other speakers, but please come see me if you have any questions about anything. I'll fill you in. I'll give you the truth. And remember this: you don't have to defend the truth. And please keep praying that God will keep His hand on the greatest nation we've ever known. Because right now we're in a spiritual battle. So with that, Harry, come on up. I guess you're next. You're number 2, since you're at state.
Our next speaker is going to be Senator John Lundberg. Senator John Lundberg will be with the 113th General Senate. Also, he is the chairman of the Senate Education Committee as well as the Judiciary Committee. So, would you all please welcome your podium?
I'm not coming up there. I'm going to stand right here. Am I loud enough? Good. Did you hear what liberals did at the end of our legislative session? You heard it, right?
Yes.
They used a megaphone to block what we did because it covered up all the wonderful things we did as a supermajority through leadership like Gary Hicks and David Hall. You didn't hear much about how we cut taxes more than $400 million. We budgeted to put an SRO in every school, $143 million. That's 817 schools. We balanced the budget, put $1 billion to renovate or repair TCAPs across the state, $3 billion in infrastructure. And guess what? We still have AAA bond ratings. We have no road bill. And how many people in here have met somebody who's moved to Tennessee in the last year? Everybody does. That's why. And it's not complex. Frankly, those conservative ideals are really basic and really easy. When we took over the majority, which wasn't that long ago, guess what happened in Tennessee to our economy? It went this way. Guess what happened to our freedoms? They went that way too. And I just want to say thank you very much. I am proud to represent so many of you, and I'm proud to work with these folks. And Timothy, wherever you are, welcome back, Representative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Lundberg. Our next speaker is going to be State Representative Timothy Hill. State Representative Timothy Hill recently appointed to the District 3 State House seat, previously serving in the 108th and 111th General Assembly. He will be representing parts of Hawkins County, Sullivan County, Carter County, and all of Johnson County. Please welcome Mr. Timmy Hill to the podium.
Thank you. It's an honor to serve Hawkins County in an interim role as your state representative, because there's so much going on in Nashville right now. You know, I'm just kidding. There's not a lot going on. These guys did great work, and they got it done before I could get there. But I had a request. Of course, Mr. Long spoke before me because we're involved in a special election, and we shake hands and we're together quite a bit. As June 2nd is early voting, June 22nd is election day. Of course, I asked for your vote. We actually were over off to the side, and we started thinking, you know, campaigns are expensive. Everybody loves getting campaign mailings, right? That's what I heard, at least. But all this mail, all this money's being spent. Maybe the quickest way is if Mayor Jacobs has left a quick no, maybe. Only if you're on my side, if you let Mr. Chuck say. That's just it. But in all seriousness, it's an honor to serve. I ask totally for your vote as we get ready to go into the rest of the session, especially the extraordinary session that's coming. I'm 100% pro-life. I'm pro-Second Amendment. No red flag laws. We've got to be so careful. Don't give an inch. Shall not be infringed isn't a joke. And it's not a Bible. And from a conservative perspective, I'm the proven conservative that's in the race. My cell phone number is 423-646-1589, because as your senator knows, as your representative knows, as well as your other electeds know, the government that's closest to the people governs best. And so feel free to call on me. I will be accountable and transparent. I look forward to serving you. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker, I wish I could say he's talking about Johnson, but he's none of those. It's actually me. You got it tough tonight. I'm trying to get him softened up for you, Mayor. I don't know if I can. But no, so I am Gary Hicks, and I represent the 9th House District here, which encompasses now part of Hawkins County, all of Hancock County, and of course, pretty much half of Clayton County. I've been serving in this role since 2016, my first day on the job. You know, one thing that the Congress lady said that really caught my attention as I was walking back, I heard her say, you can't believe what you hear on the news media. And, you know, I've heard that for many years now, and you know, you hear that and you hear stuff in Washington, but you know what, after, and David Hawkins said back there, I have never seen a narrative that spun more than what I saw this past session down in Nashville. I'm telling you, I have never seen, I'm going to tell you what happened. Some of you haven't heard this. And you may be wondering, what did go on down there? So if you can imagine, it wasn't a timeout. We weren't in a break. We were literally on the House floor debating the bill when these three, and I'm not going to call them the Tennessee Three. To me, the Tennessee Three, last time I checked, I thought it was Morgan Wallen, Kenny Chesney, and Dolly Parton. I didn't know they were wow, I thought. But so we're in session. The next thing you know, they make their way around the side, and while Representative Chris Todd's in the well, they just decided to come over and stand in the well. So if the speaker's up there, and they come to the well, and that's not good enough. And I'm talking people screaming and shouting as they make their way up there. And then because they turned the mic on. And so that wasn't good enough. They could just stand there. In fact, they made it to the well. Now here's what's interesting. There was a plan to get into the well. There was no plan to get out of the well. You know what their plan was? To be arrested. But that wasn't going to happen. So since they turned the microphone off, they took a megaphone out on the House floor and began to rant and rave inside the crowd. And so the speaker did the only thing he could do after asking them to leave the well, and they wouldn't. So he recessed and asked for leadership to come up. Now, David Hawkins and myself and the rest of our group sat there for 45 minutes as these groups screamed and hollered and threw stuff. And listen, there was some peaceful protesting going on down there, and I'm all for that. But some of the protesting we saw wasn't very peaceful at all. And I'll show you some signs they had, and that's peaceful. That was just kind of just a small snippet of what we heard and saw. So the fact that we got rules down there. Don't you think it's interesting that people decide to go to a place that makes rules and they don't want to follow rules? Isn't that something? But my whole thing was, I'm expected to go down there and go by and play by the rules. But for some reason, these three thought they didn't have to. And so the only thing we could do, because we had, I wish that was the first time that those outbursts had happened, but it wasn't. And that's what the narrative got spun. Like that was the first time we were suppressing their First Amendment rights. These three speak more than anybody else down there. I mean, on every single bill. And they say the same things. They're always off topics. They get gabbled down and they get mad. They say they're suppressed. So let me say this. And I'm just piggybacking off of what Congressman said. If you don't think the Republican Party is under attack, turn your lights on. Don't turn on the TV. Just believe me. Everything that we believe as Republicans are under attack. Everything. And it's not just in Washington. Now it has creeped down to Nashville. And so we have to make sure that those folks that are going back, that y'all they're going to represent us and stand up and say, no, that's not okay. So I didn't mean to get on that soapbox. I thought Kevin Weisberg approved, but I was going to take an option. But it's an honor to serve. It's an honor to serve you all, and as long as you all send me back, I'm going to keep representing the values that got me elected and the values that you all uphold. And so again, I appreciate y'all sending me that down there. And it's been an interesting session, I'll say that. But we got through it. We did, as the senator said, we did some really, really good things. We're balancing budgets down there, and we're doing things that actually is making a difference. We're cutting taxes. We're paying for roads as we go. We're making sure that our schools are more safe. And so we're going to continue to do the things that matter as we go. I want to come in and thank my colleagues for staying the course down there. All right, now, for why we're really all excited about our speaker for tonight. And you know, it was really hard. I'm gonna tell you, when I went to Nashville, you know, you meet a lot of cool folks down there, and so I don't really get too much sticker shock when I see somebody. It's like, hey, that's great, there's a musician. Yep, that's good. I'm excited to be there and everything. But I'm just gonna tell you, growing up, and I'm gonna tell you, my wife will tell you, most of the days my wife and I went on, we were going to watch wrestling on TV, or we were going down to Thompson Bowling to watch it. I'm telling you, she was a big Stone Cold fan. I'm sorry. But I'm telling you, so the first time I get to Nashville and on the house floor, never forget it, you know, and I see Mayor Jacobs, but he's not Mayor Jacobs to me. It's Kane. I'm like, holy cow. I'm going to get a picture. And so, you know, he was up here and I was down here, and I didn't hear because he was there. And so, you know, you see that persona on TV. So that's what I grew up with. And so I wondered, well, what he's really? Wonder, is he intellectual? Wonder if he's articulate? Wonder if is he just because we knew his name, or then I'm gonna tell you, I sat down in my office and we sat down and worked on a couple of things in the past couple of years down there, and I'm gonna tell you, you will be glad. I have been, I don't want to say pleasantly surprised, but that's not how I grew up knowing. I always get John Lumber all the time about how I grew up. But to sit down and to hear Mayor Jacobs, and he likes to be called Glenn, I tell you, I call him Mayor Glenn. And so it's an honor when we asked him to come, and he did not hesitate. He came, and he's ready to hit the ground running and talk to you all about all the things, not only going on in Hawkins County, but also things that are going on, not only in Hawkins County, but Northeast Tennessee, and Tennessee as a whole. But just telling you about how they're doing things down there, and it's impressive. I had a whole Bible of things I'm going to read, but I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Mayor, if you'll come up this way, would you all please welcome to the podium Mayor Jacobs.
That's okay, thank you. Can you all hear me? I can do this, don't I? So, I at least have the tall part of the tall, dark, and handsome cover, okay? So, we got that going for us. Don't feel bad that Stone Cold Steve Austin was your favorite. The young man, Kalen, who helped with Pledge of Allegiance, he told me that was one of his favorite wrestlers. His favorite wrestler is actually John Cena. But here's the kicker. My grandson Cooper likes John Cena too. I'm like 15th on his list, so thank you. I used to make fun of politicians all the time. That's kind of my shtick. And I still do because it's still exciting. But my attitude has really changed since I spent 4.5 years in public office. there are some votes that aren't so great, but the overwhelming majority of people that I deal with, people I have met, are simply good people, and they are true public servants. So this is such a hard time right now. If you're at a local level, we're the ones that feel the heat because we're the closest to the flame. I mean, when people get mad, they call the mayor. I get calls about Social Security, I get calls about all this other stuff. I'm like, that's not really my deal. They don't care. They call me. If you're at a federal level, look, I can't even imagine what Washington, D.C. is like. And thank goodness that we have people like Congressman Harsh-Barger and Senator Blackburn and Senator Kennedy. We are so very fortunate. And then this year, Gary just described what happened at the state, and it was literally unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it. And I will say Gary's one of my heroes, because I saw some video footage of those people, and it's shooting right past Gary. And it starts, brother, he is cool hand Luke. He's just sitting there just like he is so unimpressed by everything going on. It was amazing. But seriously, let's please give all the elected officials here a round of applause, because it is a very difficult job. So thank you all. I was talking to folks at my table. One of my fears is that things have gotten so bad that it's always been hard to find good people that want to do this job. Things got so bad, who would actually want to do this anymore? Because it's just so contentious, so nasty, even from when I first started 4.5 years ago. So if you're an elected official, I applaud you, and I'm gonna still make fun of you because it gets a good rise out of the crowd. However, I respect you as well. So thank you all very much for what you do. I'm a product of the American dream. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my life and why I believe what I believe. I was actually born in Madrid, Spain. My dad at the time was serving in the Air Force. Previous to that, he had served in the Navy. He was in the Korean War on the USS Antietam aircraft carrier, switched services to the Air Force, served in Vietnam. When I was about a year old, we moved back to the States. When I was 4 years old, Dad retired from the military, and we moved to rural Northeast Missouri. My mom and dad are both from the St. Louis area, and we moved about 2 hours north to a farm. I lived on the farm's located about 5 miles outside of town of 300 people or so. So it was very, very rural place. I was born in 1967. So I'm coming of age with Nixon and Jimmy Carter. Things were not good in the country. Economically, there just wasn't a whole lot of opportunity really around the country. And I remember Carter talking about the country's in the malaise, right? And then in our area, there just really wasn't a whole lot, especially for my dad. He worked on airplanes his entire military career, and then he goes into an agricultural area. So he worked in factories, often about an hour or so away. He got laid off a lot because of the economy. So because of his military retirement, we always had a roof over our head and always had something to eat. But if he was laid off and an unexpected expense like the car broke down, something like that came along, things get real tight. I wore hand-me-down clothes. My mom cut my hair. I said, Mom and Dad worked really hard. Mom was a homemaker, but those early years were pretty tough. Later, Dad got a job with the Postal Service. He was a rural mail carrier, and that really changed our financial situation. But those early years had a profound impact on me, and I knew that when I grew up, I never wanted to feel like my family was living paycheck to paycheck. I thought that my pathway to success would be through professional sports. When I was a little kid, I wanted to play baseball for the St. Louis Baseball Cardinals. That was a great idea with one fatal flaw. I couldn't play baseball. Terrible. I was tall, awkward, clumsy, but I decided because I was tall, I still wanted to play sports, but I had an advantage in basketball. It was natural. So I started playing basketball, grew into my body, became more coordinated, got pretty good at basketball, was fortunate enough to earn a college scholarship. I wouldn't have gone through college without that scholarship. I'm the second person in my family go to college. My first was my sister. So, again, it wasn't quite what I wanted. I hurt my ankle partway through my senior year in high school, and instead of going to a D1 school, I ended up going to Division II school. Nevertheless, I was able to get a college education. While I was in college, when I graduated from high school, I only weighed about 230 pounds. I'm 6'8". That's not a whole lot of weight on that frame. But when I got to college, I started lifting weights. I filled out. So by the time that my eligibility in basketball was up, I decided to switch sports and play football. The football coach at the school told me, you're not going to play in the NBA. I knew that wasn't good enough. But you might be able to play in the NFL because of your size and your athleticism. So that's what I did, and he was right. If I switched sports, I had a little bit of eligibility left, so I decided to do it. And we had NFL scouts coming to our practices. I'm working out with position coaches from NFL teams. Looked like I was going to play in the NFL. Then one day in practice, and stupidest story ever, the end of practice, not doing anything, not even running wind sprints that day. We're putting in trick plays for that week's game, and somehow I twisted my knee, non-contact, not even wearing a helmet and shoulder pads. Walking through the play, I twisted my knee, blew out my ACL and meniscus, and that was essentially the end of my football career. I tried out for the Chicago Bears, but I was cut because I couldn't pass physical due to my knee. I went into a depression. Ever since I was a kid, that's all I wanted to do was play professional sports, and I literally had my fingertips on that dream, and it was taken away from me. Nothing I could have done about it. I worked as hard as I possibly could to put myself in a position to achieve that. I was devastated up until that point in my life. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But the great thing about our country, the great thing about our free enterprise system, is the only limitation on your God-given talents is your imagination, how you use them, and how hard you're willing to work. So I took an inventory of my skills, my assets. Big guy, still a good athlete despite having a bad knee. My degree's in English, so I know about drama and theater. The overriding goal actually was I didn't want to get a real job. Professional wrestling sounded perfect to me. So I spent a couple of years, very low level, traveling around the Midwest, meeting people, networking. Eventually went to places like Puerto Rico and Japan, Germany, started working full time, not making any money. Then came here to East Tennessee, worked for a group called Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Got my big break, signed with WWE, first couple of years there. We're still pretty difficult because I was learning my craft. But then that character was created for me, and my life changed. That dream that I had when I was a little kid and played professional sports came true in a different way than I envisioned. I never thought I'd be a professional wrestler. But nevertheless, I was making really good money using my body in physical endeavor. I've traveled the world, been in all 50 states, 40 countries, performed with some of the greatest entertainers on the planet, people like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I think he's doing movies now or something like that. Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, everything you could possibly imagine. I did a skit with the Muppets once. Pretty cool. I was even in a Scooby-Doo movie. You know you've made it in pop culture if you've been in a Scooby-Doo movie. But I look back on the arc of my life, and I've been able to provide my family. We don't live paycheck to paycheck. I've been able to provide them with a life that I wouldn't have thought possible. When I look back on the arc of my life, it's like, how's that possible? I grew up in rural Missouri. My dad was retired military. He's a mailman. He didn't have any money. No political connections, no business connections. How is it possible that someone like me, who started there, could be blessed with the life that I have been blessed with? God certainly smiled on me. He gave me some gifts that I was able to use. Put people in my life that were able to help me. But the biggest thing he did was, I'm American. And in this country, you get the opportunity to create the life that you want. and lead them. It's called the American dream. That's what it's all about. It's being able to do what you want to do. And man, if you've got the gift, and you have the work ethic, and you're willing to overcome the obstacles, the challenges, there is literally no ceiling on what you can accomplish. And people that have started out with much more humble beginnings than I have, have been able to do greater things than I ever will. But because I have literally lived the American dream, I understand how fragile it is and how it is constantly under attack. Nowadays it seems more so than ever. And I worry about what kind of life my kids are going to live. They're a little older. They have a voice in what happens. But I have 2 grandkids, Madison and Cooper. And I wonder what kind of world they're going to grow up in. Because they don't have a choice. They're going to be buffeted around by whatever decisions that we make. That's why I got into politics. It was because I want to make sure that they have the opportunity to live the American dream just like I have. I mentioned I grew up in the Carter years. Then something happened. This guy named Ronald Reagan was elected president. Reagan did a lot of great stuff. But to me, and for those of us who grew up in that era, maybe the most important thing was he believed in this country. He was an optimist. It went from, there's Malaysia in our country, to, it's morning in America. That changed, that literally changed everything. And I consider myself a Ronald Reagan Republican. Very limited government, and I believe in our country. So when I got into office, I figured I'd do what all good conservatives like me do. I'd keep taxes low. Try to foster a business-friendly environment. Just keep government off people's back. Things were going pretty well until this thing called the COVID-19 pandemic hit. And that switched everything, turned everything on its head. Don't get me wrong, that was a very serious issue, a very serious public health issue. But early on, I realized that there was some other stuff going on. First of all, you had a lot of politicians who felt that they just needed to do something. And it is incredibly dangerous when politicians feel the need to do something, right? What did Reagan say? The most dangerous words in the English language, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. You have a lot of politicians during the pandemic who were here to help, and they messed stuff up. But they weren't, that wasn't evil, okay? Because all of us were trying to figure out what was going on. We're hearing all these dire predictions, and, all this stuff is going to happen if we don't lock people in their houses and keep kids out of school. No one's talking about what would happen if we did lock people in houses and keep kids out of school. But nevertheless, it was a very difficult time. However, you start noticing that there were people exploiting the pandemic for political gain. People like California, I call him Governor of Freedom, Gavin Newsom, and Gretchen Whitmer, Governor of Michigan, and Andrew Cuomo in New York. The things that they were doing were not based on the science. Science was wrong. By the way, you could read the science pretty early on and realize that science was not science. It was politically motivated. But nevertheless, they were doing things based on expanding their power. And that was it. So we get through the pandemic, and that was a pretty big fight, especially for someone like me who was pushing back as much as I could. It was pretty cool. I got called a murderer. I said I wanted grandma to die, all that stuff. When, in fact, I was worried about things that we see now manifesting themselves, like issues with mental health, the economy. We have all these, the number one issue, if you talk to any employer, is workforce. Well, guess what? We stuck people in their homes so they didn't have to work and paid them not to do that. What do you think is going to happen? I said early on, the global supply chains are very fragile. And if they are strained or broken, it's going to be really hard to rebuild them. We have supply chain issues. Well done, right? So those of us who were saying those things early on, though, we were literally the enemy in many ways. However, I felt that's what I had to do. So we get to the pandemic. Now it's almost like everybody forgot the pandemic happened. Right? And by the way, when we're talking about gun control, and these people are saying, oh, all we have to do is ban AR-15 assault weapons. They don't know what that means. All we have to do is ban AR-15s. That'll be it. Remember, it was 15 days to flatten the curve, and then that turned into 2 years of lockdowns. So if these same people start messing with your guns, say goodbye to the Second Amendment. When we get past the pandemic, and I thought that everything was good, we'd get back to normal, everything's great, then I realized that we are in a left-wing counter-revolution. Malcolm Nance, who is, and one of the things about being kind of a high-profile person is other high-profile people say bad, nasty things about you on social media. Malcolm Nance, who is one of the folks on MSNBC, one day called me a right-wing reactionary. And that's when it was really driven home to me. That is the language of Marxism. And that's what we're seeing right now. Okay? This woke ideology is being pushed around the country. It's cultural Marxism, and that is a real thing. Okay? People say it's conspiracy theory. No, it's not. What happened was the Marxists realized in the early 20th century that economic Marxism would not work because capitalism, ironically, is too good and it makes people too comfortable. There's never going to be a worldwide workers' revolution like Lenin envisioned. So they switched tactics. They said instead of undermining the economy, we are going to destroy the culture. And this is done, obviously, through academia and the elites in many parts of our culture. But that's what it's all about. They don't know what they're going to replace capitalism with and freedom with. They just want to destroy it. And then whatever comes next is whatever comes next. That's what y'all are dealing with in Nashville. That's just it. They literally just want to destroy everything, and then whatever happens after that, happens after that. But they assume that they're going to be in control. The problem with that is they're never in control. And they assume that it's going to be a classless society. The problem with that is there's always hierarchies, and they're not going to be the rulers. They'll be just like the rest of us down here being unstoppable. The most disturbing part is they want to replace God. Okay? In all communist countries and societies, they call themselves atheists, but they're not really atheists. Their religion is man. State is, or the government or the state is their religion. Man is actually God. And the reason for that is because when God's in control, the laws of nature are immutable. They've been around for millennia and they will never change. If man's in charge, man changes his mind and all the laws change. And that's exactly what we're seeing. So it's really interesting to me that here in Tennessee, we're a very conservative state, and we have a Republican supermajority. So why would they be targeting Tennessee? By the way, they are targeting Tennessee. In the special session that's about to happen, there are already groups that are doing training. They've been infiltrated by some members of the conservative media that are going, literally, how do we get arrested? How do we cause problems? How do we cause provocation, provocators? How do we do all this? They're already getting the training in that because they want to disrupt the special session, right? So why are they targeting Tennessee? The reason is, and why does a mayor in Knox County talk so much about freedom and liberty and the American dream? It's because Tennessee is what America should be. And Tennessee is what America could be And Tennessee is what America can be if the rest of the country would wake up. And that scares the dickens out of America. Because if they have something to compare what they're doing to what America is, there is no comparison, and they lose. Senator Lundberg said that there's a lot of people moving here. And some folks are worried that they're liberals bringing liberal stuff. There's two good stories. My wife's actually a realtor. And one night she told me that she had to make a call. She had to leave. And she calls, Crystal's lived in Tennessee all her life, right? But she calls these people, and I'm standing right next to her making dinner. And she's like, hey, my name's Crystal Jacobs. Everything is sweetie and honey and all that, except it's stuck on me. But it's stuck on other people, it's sweetie and honey. Hey, sweetie, my name's Crystal Jacobs. I understand y'all want to move to Tennessee, but I have to ask you a couple questions before I can be a realtor. Oh, great. So, first question is, where y'all from? Colorado. So, Crystal says, oh, that's lovely. Our daughter lived in Colorado for a while, so we traveled much. And, but then, my sweet, polite Tennessee wife says, well, that brings me to my second question. Are y'all Republicans or Democrats? Because the Democrats keep their liberal BS in Colorado. I was mortified, right? Oh my gosh, what are you doing? Well, but their response was, oh no, we're Republicans. We hate it out here. We hate the high taxes. And we want to go somewhere where people think like we do. And we're seeing a lot of it. One of those people I actually have gotten to meet. It's pretty cool. Donald Trump's sister-in-law, Anne Marie Trump. They live in Jefferson County now. So my buddy, who knows everybody, introduces me to her. And I go up and we're having barbecue on Douglas Lake on Labor Day last year. And I get to meet Anne Marie Trump. And I'm sitting there and I'm on the dock eating my smoked bologna sandwich. And she says, hey, would you like to talk to Donald? And I'm like, Donald who? She hands me the phone, and I'm talking with Donald Trump. You want to talk about the American dream. How is it that a country boy from rural Missouri is sitting on a dock in Tennessee talking with the former and quite likely future President of the United States? It's pretty awesome. But those are the kind of people that are coming because of who we are. We are what America should be, and we should never forget that. Around the world, we have always, this country has been the beacon of liberty, freedom, and justice around the world. And the lights are going out, folks. And the lights are going out in this country. That's why it's so important that we keep the lights on here in Tennessee. Because if we don't, no one will. And if we don't, I got 2 grandkids. What's going to happen to them? It's up to us. So thank you all so very much. Keep up the fight. And again, all our elected officials, nothing but respect for you guys. This is just do an amazing job. Here in Tennessee, we are the firewall that's going to keep the literally communist revolution from really taking hold here. Thank you all so very much.
That makes it much better for you because I'm trained as a secondary education math and history teacher. And I came through the ranks like right about the time that they changed the format and went to a block schedule. So So students were used to like 45, 50-minute classes, and then boom, we went to 90-minute classes about the time that Hannah Jenkins was starting teaching in Williamson County in the mid-1990s. And so I'm trying to talk for an hour and a half in front of people. So settle in, we'll get all these things done. We'll let y'all get out here, maybe by 9:30. If it's the weekend, we'll give you a break. But first of all, let's give Gary a big round of applause. In the state house, he does a wonderful job in our county and our local community. And anytime I text Gary with a big idea, it somehow has to get. Sometimes we have to tweak it a little bit because I'm big on big ideas. But Gary always is, he's always ready to go. He's always listening to me, and he always helps me tweak it till it turns out to something really, really good. And I do appreciate everything he does. Also, our executive committee, I was named as chairman a little over 2 years ago. My vice chair, Jason Roach, and I came in together, and we were greenhorns in this role. And in some ways, I guess we still are. But we had a wonderful past president, Mr. Billy Reeves. And again, Billy does not shy away from keeping me on the straight and narrow when my big ideas get a little bit off center. And I appreciate Billy for that. And I also appreciate Miss Janice, because if there's one thing that Miss Janice does is she keeps Mr. Billy on the straight and narrow. And she's always ready to support us. She works tirelessly with Republican women. She serves on committees. She does absolutely anything and everything she can for us. And she always does it with that warm smile that just makes us know that everything's going to be all right at the end of the day. So we certainly appreciate Mr. Billy, and I do appreciate Jason, as I said, as our vice chair. He helps me and supports me in any way. And along with Mr. Jacobs, he's one of the tallest people in the room, so it's him up on his ladder hanging the flags up here behind me the other day. So I certainly appreciate him for many, many things. Our new secretary is a lady named Cheryl Battaglia, and I know a lot of our local folks know Cheryl. Say an extra prayer for Cheryl today, please. As many of you know, she lost her husband just a few months ago, and Cheryl had planned to be here tonight, and I got a text from her just a little while ago this afternoon. Said, I just don't think I can make it. I'm really missing Tim, and I'm just not ready to be back out socializing. So do remember Cheryl. She jumped right in there, and she's helping us in big ways. Our treasurers are away today. Casey Seibert and Rick Price are both doing things with their families, which is exactly where they should be. But I appreciate them greatly, because if any of y'all know anything about the state finance and ethics laws, know that it's very, very important that we have highly intelligent, highly efficient, highly loyal people who take care of those things for us. And they do an excellent job, and they make my job such that I can lay down and sleep at night, because I know those boxes are getting checked and the I's are getting dotted and the T's are getting crossed. Recent redistricting gave us a new state committee woman, and Mrs. Linda Buckles. We appreciate her and all that she does. She is a wealth of information and is a great communicator of all things GOP in the state of Tennessee, which is exactly what a state committee woman or committee man is supposed to do. And people ask that question all the time. What is the state committee woman? What is the state committee executive man? They are to go to national and learn what's going on with any changes that are going on with GOP guidelines and bring that information back to their counties. And Ms. Linda Buckles does an amazing job of that. Y'all are lucky tonight. We've got two other state executive committee women with us, and Ms. Nina Taylor and Ms. Patty Mills. So anything y'all need to know tonight, these are your go-to ladies. They're highly intelligent and very efficient in what they do. And like I said, Linda, we welcome you and appreciate having you on our executive team in Hawkins County. Our past secretary is an absolutely darling lady that all of our locals know, Donna Sharp. And Donna keeps up with so many things. She helped us set up the room as far as the tablecloths and the chair covers and everything this week. And Donna is a former commissioner of elections or administrator of elections, and she knows so much information and has helped us tremendously in mine and Jason's first 2 years here. We do miss Donna away tonight, as she is away attending a family wedding, which is about one of 3 weddings, I think, going on in the county tonight. Also, our table sponsors, again, I appreciate each and every one of you. I thank you that you don't block my cell phone number when I text you. You're always so willing to support us, and we thank that. thank you for that. Thank you, Sheriff, for your ever-present help and for keeping Hawkins County safe each and every day and all that you do to support the Republican Party. So let's give all these folks a hand, especially Gary, all of our executive committee folks, our sheriff, and our table sponsors. Let's give them seriously, it is my intention to be brief, but there's a lot of work and effort that goes into these dinners, so there's a lot of folks who need to be thanked, and I want everyone to be able to express our gratitude to them. I know Miss Jo Anderson and her team are probably back there cleaning up somewhere, but she always does a wonderful job, and these dinners always go a lot better for everyone present if the food tastes good. And I think tonight our food certainly tastes good, so I hope y'all can hear us back there, Joe, and your staff. And let's give them a big round of applause. Caramel cheesecake tonight and enjoyed that. I guess you can give a little bit of that credit to Doug Jenkins because that's his favorite, and that's why it made it to the menu tonight. While I mentioned that, I will say just a few words about my family. There's a lot of us, and it's a good thing there's a lot of us because I have a lot of big ideas, and they come to my rescue and help me out. One of these little ladies up here tonight is the niece or the daughter of my nephew and his wife, Miss Rachel Gordon, and I'm happy that Rachel came and brought Henry and Anna here with us tonight. Rachel's back there in the corner with Henry, and it reminds me how Doug and I always chose a table in the back corner of the room around about 2000, 1998. John came along, 1999, we old. Then we had Laura Grace in 01 and June in 03. So the Jenkins were always in the corner somewhere with children because there were always lots of trucks and cars and little tractors and baby dolls attached to the car seats and all this kind of thing going on. And some of you old timers might remember a Lincoln Day back in, I don't know what it was, maybe 04, 05. We were all at Cherokee High School at a fire alarm got pulled. I don't know if you recall that or not, but that's because maybe one of the little Jenkins, when we saw that little red button, we didn't know what it did. Well, the funny thing about that was, and I didn't intend to tell this story, I'm totally off my 17 pages of script here. But the funny thing was, Bill Jenkins was at the podium. The Kingsport Times News was there. He was introducing Senator Fred Thompson. The Kingsport Times reported the next day that Congressman Bill Jenkins suggested that was a Democratic punster, somebody pulling prank that pulled that firework. Of course, we were in the middle, I think we even had a sheriff's election going on that year. So we had people in there that when that fire alarm got pulled, they reacted and they're like, who did that? Who did that? Are there kids in an alternative school? What's going on? If you're going to school cafeteria, the fire alarm is blaring, and John, who's sitting back there in the back corner of the room right now with that same little grin on his face that he had back then, he's standing there grinning. I said, no, nobody's pulling a prank. No, there are only Democrats in the building that I know of. That was my 4-year-old that pulled the fire alarm. But they said, that it was a Democrat. Well, my daddy was raised in Hawkins over at the edge of Hancock County, born in 1931, so he was a Southern Democrat. So when he heard and read that in the paper that Bill had joked that it was a Democrat that pulled the fire alarm, he said, you go tell Bill Jenkins that was a little Democrat that pulled the fire alarm. I don't think that was true. I think that even by the Reagan years, Daddy had even come around and been a Republican ever since. But I appreciate my children. I appreciate the fact that even though they aren't children anymore, they're all young adults and they're away at college, they're still here supporting us and supporting the values that I think they have internalized. So don't give up just in case, somebody pulls a fire alarm or something gets broken or whatever. It's like taking them to church. Just keep taking them. Everybody's really, really glad they're there. They are my greatest blessings, and they are the best of my life's work. If you ask Douglas, he'll tell you though, they're just like me. They are hard-headed. People often ask me, are you married to the judge or are you married to the chancellor? Well, I'm married to Doug, and he was a farmer when we married. He was a bank teller, a law student. He's always my comic relief. The children will tell you that I get rattled, and they laugh at me when I use that term. But Doug does not get rattled, ever. He keeps me grounded, and even though I've been married to him for 32 years, I still get rattled, and somehow I forget that he's always going to jump into my rescue and make an attack. Okay, so how am I doing on time now? Have I got? Oh, I'm good. All right, I do need to thank Nancy Barker. Nancy is away tonight, also at a wedding. She is our Rogersville Hawkins County Chamber of Commerce Director, and she is a former executive committee member. She helps us in so many ways. She stores all of this stuff that you see on the tables and the chair covers. She keeps up with everything. She prints tickets, whatever we need, and pretty much whatever anybody in Hawkins County needs. Nancy's probably going to be there to help. Chances are, if you're doing any type of event whatsoever, when you get around to the people that you need to thank, Nancy's going to be on your list of people to say thank you to, and rightly so. So when you see Nancy, please tell her that we appreciate her. We are very thankful for the use of this structure here at the facilities of the American Legion. The new commander is a gentleman named Scott Fouts, which has been extremely helpful in hosting us. I also want to thank, of course, I think Pastor Kevin Weisberger had to step out, but I think it's always good to start with a good reminding us of what's really important and why it's important. I met Mr. Weisberger through our district attorney yesterday in Armstrong, and he's been a very solid and loyal presence ever since I've gotten to know him. I thank each of you who let me borrow your children for the pledge. They did an excellent job. Let's give those little folks a hand. This long program. I want to thank Miss Mallie Cole. She is one of Mark Grace's besties since kindergarten. She did a wonderful job with the national anthem, and I thank her for that. Also thank Mr. Christian Bruno with the Rogersville Review. We appreciate you being here. And I think Miss Lacey Collier had to leave with Lacey Collier photos, but she was also here doing some photos for us. Now, winding down, the only bad thing about thanking people is it's so easy to leave someone out. And as I look out over this crowd, which is just about 100 strong tonight, I realize that I probably left out more people than I included. I want to thank every person who came tonight, whether you're visiting from a neighboring county, whether you're a veteran and you always come to the Hawkins County Lincoln Day dinner, or whether you got roped into it just because somebody had an extra ticket. I certainly appreciate you being here. I hope you came tonight, and I hope you will continue to stand strong for our conservative Republican values. I hope you do not miss an opportunity to be counted. Go vote every time the polls are open. Sometimes it seems like we're busy and it's not important, but it matters. And it truly, everything that the speakers have said tonight, we are facing a battle of sorts. And we cannot take our rights and our privileges for granted. Please go and vote at every opportunity and encourage your family and friends. It's surprising to realize how many people don't vote, how many people aren't even registered to vote. So let's all do our part in encouraging that. At this time, I'm going to ask someone, maybe Gary, and Mayor Jacobs, if you would come back to the stage. Mr. Billy Reeves, if you would step up here as part of the executive committee, and Jason, you have a presentation to make to Mayor Jacobs. As y'all know, the pandemic hit about 2019, 2020, and my understanding, and Gary may be able to speak to this more definitively, that they had a big celebration planned for the 225th anniversary or birthday, I guess you would say, of the state of Tennessee. And so what the state did was they designed a series of posters. One poster represents East Tennessee, one poster represents Middle Tennessee, and one poster represents West Tennessee. So throughout the time that we've been involved in this, these posters have been extremely popular. I've seen them sell at Republican auctions to benefit various groups. And once again, I'll be honest, I got taken down from over my mantle to bring to an event to present to someone. But that's okay, because I love sharing this. This is to me, a very special set. It's very well done. I don't know exactly whose idea this was. Was this Secretary of State Trey Hawkins? I think he was the one that kind of got that going. But we want to present this to you in appreciation for coming to our Lincoln Day.
Thank you.
Somebody want to called succulent ferns, she tells me, and we're gonna give them away as door prizes. Now, y'all read our last Lincoln Day dinner, I think Gary was about ready to, pull my hair out because I had a long list of door prizes and a very bad way of choosing them. So, I have as my witness, Jim, who helped me last night figure out what random number generators were on the cell phone. I knew what they were on the map, but didn't know you could just pull them off your cell phone. I mean, I just not that good. So I have my random numbers, and I'm going to call out your name, and then Mary's will come back up and dismiss us. And when we leave, you're welcome to choose one of the centerpieces from the table as your door prize. So the first number that Jim pulled was number 2, which is U.S. Representative Diana Marshwater. Number 21 is Anna Horton. Number 23 was Tammy Vaughn. Number 37 was Jean Ann Duggar. Number 15 was Linda D. Buckles. Number 5, Caroline Hicks. 51, Judy Kirkpatrick. 41, R.W. Gillespie. 46, Jacob Justice. Number 10, Janice Reeves. Number 28, Kaylin Spears. Number 61, Dolores Johnson. Number 59, Mary Jones. And number 13, Melanie Cole. So those numbers have no significance other than they are our random generated numbers. And each of you, if I called your name, please take one of the centerpieces with you. Thank you all. I appreciate your attendance. Seriously, if we could ever do anything in Hawkins County, whether you're a resident, whether you're a representative, whatever it is that we can do to help you, please reach out to us. And it has been a joy to host you in Hawkins County tonight. Everybody have safe travels. And I will mention this, Jada William Phillips is in the hospital, Poston Valley, is it Doug? Yes. He ended up needing emergency surgery on Tuesday evening. We did speak to him yesterday by phone. He is recovering, but he needs your prayers. He had a fairly serious surgery. A surgeon acted very quickly on Tuesday evening, and Miss Erica said very likely saved William's life. So do remember him and all the others across our area. I know we have a lot of folks. But thank you all for coming. Good evening.